Oh, hello. Uh, it's DP Crazy Lady. I thought I'd attempt a late night, early morning video. I owe it to you guys anyway. It's 3:15, excuse me, a.m. And it's now the 24th. It's Tuesday, February 2026. I'm working on, or trying to work on, the Librarian. It's a big one, 61 colors, and there are I believe, what is it, three ABs and one specialty drill, the gold shiny thingy. I am, if you can see this, don't know, me doing nighttime ones, hard to see sometimes, but there's a typewriter right here, and I am under her arm going across, so I'll be doing pretty much the typewriter, not the paper that's in the typewriter. So I would say I'm halfway or maybe 3/4 of the way up. The next time I come on here, I'll go ahead and unroll it. It's a pain in the butt. I'm using my my square metal ruler. It has been, there have been so many things happening, and I keep wanting to say it's been a rough year, and it's only coming to the end of February. So it's like a rough year. I mean, first, my water pipes freeze. That's in January, beginning of January. And then my furnace goes out. Then my car needs brakes in the front. Then after that settles down a little bit, then my pipes freeze again. Then, with trying to come up with money for those things, this things, all that, I couldn't catch up with my gas bill. And I couldn't deal with the idiots that were, I feel like, ripping me off. When, I mean, it was my fault. I was a dummy. I shouldn't have signed up with another supplier. I should have just stayed where I was, because I had been fighting them off for years. They're constantly coming here in the mobile home park, talking people into, their suppliers, and how they can get it for you cheaper, and then boom, all of a sudden you're paying double or triple after a while. So it's like, it's like they see you coming and we don't see them. Whatever. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, the thing is, how it's so hard to explain. But anyway, I'm having a hard time trying to diamond paint and talk at the same time anymore. I mean, things have been so out there. It's been driving me crazy. trying to do the right thing, trying to deal with the bills and everything. But I think I told you guys before, I spent 3 weeks calling the, they call it TCAP. It's for Trumbull County Action thing. And it's supposed to help elderly and also help low income and so on. And I tried 3 weeks. I did everything they told me to do. I tried calling them. I was calling them in the morning. They said call after peak hours. Call between. I'm sorry. Call between 3 and 5. And so I tried that for 2 or 3 days in a row. Wasn't getting anywhere. Then I talked to someone else at the food bank. They said, oh, you got to try and call them after midnight. So I said, okay. I tried calling them, after midnight because they had a 24-hour appointment thing. Oh, shoot. This plastic is going through. They had a 24-hour, I don't know if you call it a hotline or a 24-hour thingy so that you could make appointments. Well, I kept trying that, and I would start dialing at like 11:58 or something like that, and then by a minute after midnight, after it makes you push this button, push that button, and go through all that rigmarole, it got to be like a minute or two after midnight when I finally got through to the line after several button pushes that said, if you're calling about an emergency shut off or whatever, blah, 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 press this button and make an appointment. Well, I'd press the button and it'd say, we're sorry, all our appointments are full, call, another time. Or, I mean, it was like within 2 minutes, all the appointments were done. So I finally got through to someone on there. I don't even know how I managed it, because it always said, don't leave a message. They didn't want you leaving any recordings, nothing. Don't leave a message. So finally, after dialing and getting ticked off, I finally got hold of someone, talked to her, and she said, well, all the appointments are filled up for the month of February. You'll have to call back in March or April. And I said, well, by then, they will probably already have shut me off. And she said, well, do you have a disconnect? I said, first off, I don't want to play stupid, but I don't know if I have it or not. I said, because I don't get a paper bill. Everything's on the computer. And I don't know if they just put it in the bill online or if it would be in an email or something like that. And so I kept trying to deal with it that way. Couldn't get anybody to pay attention. And then I called I contacted the food bank, because I know sometimes down there they also help with bills and different things like that. Well, I never heard back from them. And they said, contact the Salvation Army. So I contacted the Salvation Army. They told me that they would get back with me. The week that I called them, they said, well, we'll give you a call next week. That's when we'll have some more money. Our funds are coming in next week. Well, I waited all that week, didn't hear anything, so I called them, and she got kind of snippy with me because she said, "Well, I told you that as soon as we got our funds, we'd call you." And I said, "No, I understand that." I said, "But you said that the funds would be there this week, and I'm concerned because I don't want to be sitting here freezing to death. I've already had my furnace break down before and have no heat for almost 10 days. I said, I sure don't want to have it shut off." And she said, "No, as soon as we have our funds, you know, she says, check next week." So I waited and waited, called them back again within the third week, and they said, "Oh, we're still trying to get the headquarters to release the funds." So apparently they must have the funds, but they can't get the headquarters, I guess, to release them. I don't understand that. But so I thought, well, they told me call the church, call St. Vincent's, because they help with utility bills. So I called St. Vincent's and I left a message. The next morning they called me back saying they were out of funds. They were done. They had no, they exhausted all their funds. So, they said something about Salvation Army. I said, they're the ones that told me to call you. So I started again calling that TCAP. I just kept calling and calling. And finally I got hold of some woman. And I told her finally, I said, me being a diabetic, I said, I'm 74 years old. The stress, I can't deal with this anymore. I wasn't depressed. I don't need medication, nothing like that. I was just stressed because I had been trying so hard to do the right thing. I've never had it. Excuse me. I've never had a disconnect. I've never not paid my bills. And this was just freaking me out. Something serious. And I told him, I said, something's got to be done. I can't deal with this. And she said, well, call at, and she kept telling me different times to call. And I said, I've been doing that. And she said, well, we won't have any opening until like April or something. I said, well, they're not going to wait that long. I've already gotten 2 bills. I said, and, I said the first bill I couldn't pay because of all the other expenses I've had. I said, with my pipes freezing and stuff. And then I said, so in the interim, they sent the second bill out because that's how the billing cycle goes. So now I owe 2 bills, and the newer billing cycle will be on the 4th of March. I said, so that makes 3 of them. I can't do this. And she said, well, you're going to have to just try and keep calling. So I thought, okay, I'm done. That's it. I'm finished. There is no place else to call. I'm saying this to myself, because I know there is no place else to call. No other churches, nothing to deal with this. So I'm sitting here, and all I'm thinking about is, what am I going to do? I was up all night that night trying to think of what I could do. I have nothing to sell. We tried to sell a bunch. I mean, we've got tons and tons of DVDs in sets and stacks and everything. We took a bunch of them. I mean, if you valued them at what we had paid for them over the last 2 or 3 years, well, my daughter anyway, there was probably at least $300 worth of DVDs. We took them down to the trade place, where they either trade or buy or whatever it is. And we took them down there. We were down there for a good hour while they were looking through them and deciding which ones they were going to buy and so on and so forth. And after they were done, they said, well, $20. I about had a heart attack. I said, no, forget it. $20? Are you out of your mind? So that didn't go very well. Then I came home and the phone rang, and here it was TCAP. And she says, ma'am, she said, I hope you don't mind me calling you now. And I said, why would I mind? What's going on? And she said, I have, and it was on a Thursday, I believe. And she says, I have been trying to get a hold of a couple of people who have appointments, and I can't get hold of them. So there's an opening for an appointment this week if you want it. And I said, well, yeah. And I said, when do I come down? And she goes, oh no, these are phone appointments. They do it over the phone. And I said, okay. And she said, they'll call you on Friday, which would have been the 20, what is that, the 20th, I think it was, or something, when they called. And so the lady, she said, I call you at 10 o'clock. So it was a little after 10, the lady called. And long story short, the only deal I could make, and they told me, this is the part that's really burns my buns. The only reason why things are tough all over and no one has any funds, our federal government up there in Washington, and I'm going to speak my mind, I'm telling you guys, he has cut funding in the White House. He has cut so much funding. And I'm not a beggar, but sometimes when people get in a rough spot, they need the government to help them. That's what they're there for. You pay your taxes, you pay everything you're supposed to pay, and when you need help, you need help. And he cut funding. This is what the lady told me, that they are working on a budget from 2019 because they've been cut. And she said, we are so short on funds. And she said, there are so many people that need help. And she said, we just don't have enough money, and we can't get them to, quit cutting our budget. So the deal that she could make for me with the gas company was to pay them $100 a month for 12 months, like on the PIP, which I had to agree to because it was either that or my gas would be shut off. That was the solution. And I agreed to it. And I have to pay them $100 on March 1st, starting March 1st. And I don't know what I'm going to do, because that puts me at like $50 left, or maybe a hair more or a hair less, depending on what the water and sewer is here in this stupid park, since they won't read the meters. So no telling what we're going to be charged We don't know. So last month I paid almost $500 with lot rent of $375, and then what it was, and the rest of it was water and sewer, which is stupid because there's only the two of us here in this little mobile home. No way, no way. I'm losing my voice. Hold on a minute. Oh, no way we're reusing that kind of water and sewer. No way. So I don't know how I'm going to manage, but at least we won't freeze. I just have to make sure that the puppy eats and that we have enough to buy the extra groceries we need because they cut our food stamps too in January. And even though we got a minimal increase in my disability check, they raised the lot rent, and that took my increase plus a little more. So I'm further in the hole than I was last year. So, and like someone posted, and I can't remember who it was, they said sometimes life is shit. Sorry, I swore, I don't care, but it is. I mean, when you're younger, you don't think about this kind of stuff. You think, okay, you work, you do this, you do that, and you get to a certain age and you think, okay, you know, things are going to slow down a little bit. You take it easy and everything. No, it's worse. And like I told the lady on the phone, I said, I don't mean to joke about it. I said, but I said, good heavens. I says, the way things are now, it's cheaper for me to die than it is for me to stay alive. You know, it's just ridiculous. So y'all said you want me to be honest and you would listen to what I got to say, and I'm telling you. And I could lose subscribers. I don't care. But if it wasn't for the idiot in the White House, I don't care what anybody says. Things would not be the way they are right now. And there is nobody telling me that groceries have come down, that gas prices are reduced, and who gives a crap whether your eggs are up or down? I can do without the eggs. But I am sick and tired of having a little bit the first week and a half of the month, and by the middle of the month, that it's trying to make it to the end, and it just isn't doing it. It isn't doing it. And that's another reason why I thought maybe I wouldn't be doing videos. Yeah, I've got a few diamond paintings laying around scattered here, but I don't have any to entertain you guys. You've seen them. They may not be your taste. There's probably something you're not enjoying. And yes, this channel was for me, but I've made quite a few friends, or a few, and I don't want you to be bored. I would hope, you know, I'm sure you don't want to listen to an old lady bitch and complain, but I'm telling you, it ain't just me. I know it's rough for everybody out there, but I don't live with everybody. I live here. And heck, I don't even drive my car that much. I'm lucky if I go 1,500 miles a year in my car. When I got that car, it had 20,000 miles on it. It's got 30 on it now. And I've had that car almost 5 years. So that tells you not very many miles. Thank goodness it'll be paid off next year if we don't get into a deeper thing. We only have 1 year left on it, or a little less than a year to pay on it. And once that's paid for, that's a car payment that we don't have to make. And the car payment's not that high, but it's enough that it's strangling us. And my car insurance is ridiculous. I've got to get just liability once the car is paid for. So, well, I guess I've complained enough. I think I've said enough. I congratulate Bianca and Carly Girl on their PR packages. I've never seen a PR package like that. Usually from companies, it's cheaply wrapped and, bent, shipped and everything. You guys know what I'm saying. I've never seen one in a full-fledged box like that, looking like one of those real expensive, like Diamond Art or Dreamers or something like that. So I think that's amazing. And that's really something. I'm not a flower person, but that is beautiful. So, all right, I've talked enough. Yep, it's almost 30 minutes, and I think my battery's going to go on the phone. So, hopefully you heard me. Sorry for the hoarseness. I don't know. It gets dry in here, and I can't put pans of water by the registers because the dog will drink it. And I can't run a humidifier in here. That, first off, that's more electricity, and secondly, with the way the windows are and stuff, I'd just be, I'd be cooling the place off with a humidifier, and my furnace would run even more. So it's like it's a mess. But anyhow, I'm gonna get off here. Got to take the pup to the vet today. We got dumped on. I was gonna go today, but it was so cold, and it's only like 17, 18 degrees right now. So hopefully it gets up a little warmer tomorrow. My daughter's got a doctor appointment at 2 o'clock, but we got to take the pup in way before 1, because they stop it. They do it from 11 to 1, clipping the nails. So, okay, I'm going to get off here, and thanks for listening to me. If you've been here this long, I love you all. And hugs to you all. DP Crazy Lady, for sure, is out.